Officer Science going through the entire penthouse, is that correct?
We did a protective sweep of the location that she was at.
And tell me what you mean by protective sweep.
We walked through the general housing area that she is at to make sure that there's no one else in it that shouldn't be there, or there's no one hurt.
Do you recall how many rooms you went through?
No, I don't.
I'm going to ask you, the officer having to take a look at number 25. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
All right. And do you see any injuries depicted on this picture?
No.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 26. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see any injuries in this picture?
No.
I'm going to ask you the same question. Exhibit number 27. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
And do you see any injuries in this picture on Ms. Heard?
No.
I'm going to ask the same questions. Officer Haddon, I'm going to ask you to look at Haddon exhibit number 28. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
And do you see any injuries depicted on Ms. Heard's face in this picture?
No.
I'll show you exhibit number 29. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Do you see any injuries on Ms. Heard in this picture?
No.
Now, you indicated that you and Officer Sines went through the apartment, correct?
Correct. We did a protective sweep.
Protective sweep. And in doing the protective sweep, you did go in the room, correct?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly where we went, but we walked around what she claimed was her living quarters.
Would you agree that if Ms. Heard displayed injuries at the time that you reported to her residence after the domestic violence call, that you would have had an obligation to prepare a report?
If there was injuries or a complaint of pain, yes.
I'm sorry, injuries or what?
Complaint of pain?
Would you agree that if Ms. Heard displayed injuries that you perceived to be injuries at the time you reported to Ms. Heard's residence after the domestic violence call on May 21st, 2016, you had an obligation to prepare a report?
If I perceived them to be injuries, then yes.
Okay. Would you agree that if there was property damage present at the time you reported to Ms. Heard's residence after the domestic violence calls, you had an obligation to prepare a report?
No, because if she's living there, that's her property, and she's being uncooperative and doesn't say that someone else did it or anyone else did it, then I have no other information to go off of. She could have broken it herself.
Officer Haddon, did you provide any pamphlets to Ms. Heard, you or Officer Sines, relating to domestic violence?
I personally did not.
Do you know whether Officer Sines did?
I don't know.
And ladies and gentlemen, at this point, counsel for Mr. Depp takes over the questioning.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face on the evening of May 21, 2016?
Yes.
On how many occasions did you see her face?
I believe 2.
And the first time you saw her face, how close to her were you?
I don't recall exactly. I think it was approximately 10 feet.
Did you perceive any, did you have any problems with your eyesight at that time?
No.
Did you have 20/20 vision as of May 21, 2016?
No, I wear contacts though, so I can see perfectly fine.
Were you wearing your contacts that evening?
Yes.
Did you have any trouble seeing the contours of her face the first time you saw her that evening?
No.
Did you perceive any signs of injury on her face or anywhere else on her body that was visible to you?
No.
For how long a period did you view her face the first time you saw her that night?
A few seconds, not very long.
And how much later was the second time you saw Ms. Heard?
Right before we left,
And how close to her were you when you observed her face?
approximately 10 feet.
Did you have a clear view of her face?
Yes.
Did you still have your contacts in at the time?
Yes.
Was there sufficient light that enabled you to actually see her face?
I believe so. I believe it was the light was a little dimmer, but it was still lit.
Did you perceive any signs of injury to her face on that second occasion?
No.
Did you see any swelling of any kind on her face, either during the first time you saw her or the second time you saw her that night?
No.
Did you see any marks on her face, either the first time you observed her that night or the second time you observed her?
Just the redness, which was consistent with her crying.
Did you see any time that night any indication of any bruising on her face?
No.
Did you see at any time that evening any indication or any sign whatsoever of any injury to her face?
No.
And going to your, was it the security? What was the term you used? The security sweep, is that correct?
The protective sweep.
Protective sweep. During your protective sweep, was your access barred to any part of the penthouse?
My access what? Sorry.
Did you have free access to the penthouse?
The witness that was there, he kind of, I believe he guided us kind of through the place. I don't know, wherever he guided us through.
Did you see any broken glass anywhere in the penthouse where you did the protective sweep?
Not that I remember.
Were you looking for any signs of a disturbance?
Yes.
Why were you looking for signs of a possible disturbance?
Signs of or any evidence that a crime has occurred.
Is that standard procedure, a police procedure?
Yes.
And why do you look for potential signs of vandalism or disturbance to property in the course of a domestic violence allegation or possibility?
Just because that tends to happen when some type of domestic altercation occurs between two people.
Did you see any sign of any kind of property damage or vandalism that evening?
Not that I recall.
Did you see any signs of spilled wine on the floor?
Not that I recall. If they were visible or a complaint of pain.
Do you recall some questioning from Ms. Heard's counsel, Ms. Bredehoft, about a man who led you through the penthouses on the evening of May 21, 2016?
Yes.
Did you describe him as uncooperative?
Yes.
Let me ask another question. Was he cooperative with your inquiries that evening?
No.
What do you mean by that?
I attempted to gather information of who the husband was and what occurred and where he possibly went so we could interview kind of all the different parties. And he wouldn't even give me a name of who the husband was.
And how long did you interact with that person who in fact is Josh Drew?
I'd say approximately 5 to 10 minutes.
Did he report to you in words or substance that any domestic violence had occurred?
I don't recall any exact verbiage he said.
Did he report to you in words or substance any vandalism?
No, not that I recall.
On the evening that you and your partner got a call to the Penthouse on May 21, 2016, were you and your partner in a particular hurry to close out this incident?
No.
Were you willing to stay as long as was necessary to resolve the matter?
Yes.
Would you generally take notes for a verbal dispute only?
When we disable the call and we get rid of the call, we leave our comments of what occurred and what we did in that call.
Would you generally write a report for a verbal dispute only?
No, unless it's at the request of one of the parties.
When you were typing in your computer to add text to a call, is it common to refer to the focus individual in the call as a victim, whether a crime has been committed or not?
Yes, because that's how the call was broadcasted and created.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, counsel for Ms. Heard completes the questioning.
Now, there was another woman that was present as well, correct, that night?
I believe so, yes.
Do you remember testifying earlier that at the end she was holding and embracing Ms. Heard?
Yeah, I believe she's sitting on the couch with her when we left.
Did you interview that woman?
No, she was with Ms. Heard when my partner was speaking with her, I believe. I had never spoke to her. Did you ever attempt to interview that woman that was on the couch who was embracing Ms. Heard? No, because I was speaking with the gentleman outside.
Do you know whether Officer Science ever attempted to interview that woman who was sitting on the couch?
I'm unaware.
Okay. Now, let's go back to the description that you gave, and you responded again to it with Mr. Chu, that she was crying and had a red face, and you said the redness was consistent with crying. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Why was she crying?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know why she was crying.
Did you ask her?
I personally did not, because my partner interviewed her.
Then when you downloaded with your partner later, did you ask Officer Science why Amber Heard was crying?
No, my partner never advised me. She spoke with her while I was speaking with the gentleman.
Do you recall that you testified that there was another woman who was embracing Ms. Heard on the sofa at the end of your visit?
Yes.
Do you recall asking why she was embracing and holding Ms. Heard? Why did you not ask either the other woman or Ms. Heard why the woman was embracing and holding Ms. Heard?
Why I did not is because we were trained in the academy to separate the parties and to try and attempt to build a rapport with the individual we're speaking with. Therefore, it was two females and my partner was female. So therefore, my partner spoke with the female.
Would it be fair to say you deferred to Officer Science to conduct any type of investigation with both Ms. Heard and the other woman who was embracing her?
I know my partner spoke with Ms. Heard. I am unaware. I cannot testify if she spoke with the other female.
When you said you learned at the academy to divide up the parties, was it your understanding that parties meant the victim and the suspect?
All parties.
Do you know whether anyone made an attempt to divide up the woman from Ms. Heard, the woman that was embracing her?
I'm unaware.
Okay. Now, the redness that you said was on Ms. Heard's face when she was crying and emotional, could it also have been consistent with injury?
I do not think so. I perceived it as redness from crying.
Did you consider whether the redness on the face might be from something in addition to crime?
No, I did not.
And you had never met Ms. Heard before, correct?
Never even seen her.
And would it be fair to say that you don't know what Ms. Heard's, what her characteristics are for swelling, bruising, redness, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to ask you, Officer Haddon, to look at what has been marked as Haddon Exhibit number 8, and it's from the Office of the Chief of Police, and it's dated November 24, 2014, and the subject is Domestic Violence Supplemental Report, Form 15.40.02 revised. You see that?
I do.
This was provided to us by the LAPD in response to our document requests. Did you have an understanding that there was a domestic violence supplemental report form that was in place as of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what is exhibit number 9. And this is called Domestic Violence Supplemental Report. And it is something, is it your understanding that the police officer fills this out?
Yes, we filled out.
Okay. Do you recall whether you had filled out this supplemental report at any time prior to May 21st, 2016?
I don't recall.
Now, if we look at the first column on the domestic violence supplemental report, it has a column that says victim. And then there are a number of descriptive words underneath with boxes. Do you see that?
I do.
All right. Now, the first one is shaking. What, if any, observations did you make of Ms. Heard shaking?
No, I don't recall.
All right. What, if any, observations did you make about Ms. Heard being unresponsive?
The little time I dealt with her, yeah, she was unresponsive and crying.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part. She was unresponsive and crying, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess you've answered the third one here, that she was crying, correct?
Yes.
All right. And what, if any, observations did you make of whether Amber Heard was scared?
I didn't.
You didn't what?
I did not observe.
I'm sorry, are you finished with that answer? It sounded like it was a half. I just want to make sure you.
Yeah, I did not observe her being fearful.
Okay, but Ms. Heard did not want to file a report, correct?
Correct.
She did not want to press charges, correct?
Correct.
And she did not want to tell you the name of her husband, correct?
I don't know because I didn't talk to her.
Well, do you recall testifying earlier that Ms. Heard was uncooperative?
Yes, she was uncooperative with my partner.
All right. And do you recall testifying that Ms. Heard was uncooperative because she was emotional, she was crying, she wasn't sure whether she wanted to file a report or not, and she was not, then she said she did not want to?
Yes, that's what she had spoken to my partner about.
Do you know why Ms. Heard did not want to file a report, or did not want to press charges?
No, I did not.
Officer Haddon, I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 10, and I'm going to have you looked at it. It starts out with field notebook divider, domestic violence laws, LAPD form 18.30.02. And it has the date. This is date of January 31, 2010 at the bottom with the footnote. I'm going to just direct your attention here to case preparation, and this is relating to domestic violence laws. Case preparation says, note the complainant's emotional and physical condition. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. and then ensure all evidence is gathered and preserved, e.g. bloodied clothing, damaged bones, damaged property. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you or Officer Sines provide any kind of notes relating to Ms. Heard's emotional and physical condition on May 21, 2016?
No.
Did you or Officer Sines ensure all the evidence was gathered and preserved, including the damaged property?
I said no, and all these things would have been documented if there was a report.
All right, let's go to the next bullet point. It says, ensure photographs are taken of injuries or lack of injury to complainant and accused, both the day of and day after. Did you take any photographs to show a lack of injury?
No.
Did you take any photos to show a lack of damage?
No.
All right. And then this next one is ensure photographs are taken of the scene and damaged property, etc. So I've already asked you that one, so let's go to the next one. Canvass location and interview all witnesses, including children, neighbors, law enforcement. Did you do that in this instance?
Yes.
Who did you interview?
I spoke with the gentleman.
All right, anyone else?
No, that's it.
Now, there were 2 females present in addition to Ms. Heard, were there not?
Yes. Including her, I believe there's 2.
You don't recall the 3rd woman there?
No, I don't recall a 3rd woman being there.
All right. Did you ask if there was anybody else that was present who had witnessed any aspect of this?
I don't recall exactly, but
Let's go to exhibit number 11. So what did you determine this call was after your investigation?
Dispute, a verbal dispute. It's not against the law to argue. I argue with my wife.
So you decided that there was only a verbal dispute, therefore it didn't constitute domestic violence?
From the information or lack of information I was able to receive from the witness and the information my partner gathered, yes.
Is it your understanding that a police officer can be brought up on charges of misconduct if they engage in neglect of duty?
Yes.
Right. Is it also your understanding that a police officer can be brought up on misconduct charges at the LAPD if they violate department policies, rules, or procedures?
Yes.
And is it your understanding that a police officer can be brought up on charges of misconduct if they engage in conduct which may tend to reflect unfavorably upon the employee or the department?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Your next witness is by deposition also. I assume you need a few minutes to switch that out. Or are you ready to?
We're ready. Oh, I think that's right.
Okay, well, we go ahead and it's early, but let's go ahead and take a morning recess for 15 minutes so we can take care of that and get it set up with the next deposition, okay? So don't talk to anybody and don't do any outside research, all right? All right, which exhibit did you? Okay, who's the next? Which deposition is next?
Officer William Gatlin, Your Honor.
Officer Gatlin. Okay.
We did the redactions that we discussed. I don't know how to.
I haven't seen it yet, so I
All
just
right,
need
why
to
don't I go ahead and
confirm.
take the 15 minutes and when I come back, we can figure it out. So,
I don't think we were disagreeing about anything else.
okay, and how long is this deposition?
I believe it's around 35 minutes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll be able to start the next one right after
We should
that.
be, so yes.
So why don't you go ahead and get the exhibits for the next one after that as well, and I'll come back at 11:20 and we can do both of them, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Can you hear me now? Can y'all hear me now? Am I back now? Technical difficulties. It's too early, guys. Well, it's early for me. Am I back on? I'm sorry. We're on the struggle bus. Okay. So yesterday, someone brought up the mental eval, and they wanted to know if Johnny had one too. And I did not know at the time for sure if him having a mental evaluation done was part of what was going on yet. So here's what I got for you. Uh-oh, someone said they don't hear anything. I took notes on this just for y'all bright and early this morning. Okay. So during preliminary hearings, so that was court they held before court started. You know, preliminary hearings, pre-hearings to when court started. So during preliminary hearings, Amber brought up her mental health and she brought it into question. And she brought her mental health into question and independently commissioned Dr. Hughes to do an evaluation of her for this trial. So Amber herself brought her mental stability, her mental state into question during preliminary hearings, and she hired Dr. Hughes to do an evaluation of her mental health for this trial. And in that evaluation, Amber Heard was claiming to Dr. Hughes that she suffered from PTSD. So because Amber herself brought her mental state into question, that gave Johnny's team the opportunity to motion for an independent evaluation of Amber. So since Amber hired someone to evaluate her mental health, that gave opposing counsel, aka Johnny Depp's team, the ability to also independently have her checked out for mental evaluation. That way they could have their own independent review of her mental state. So she brought it into question and hired Dr. Hughes to evaluate her, claiming PTSD. That opened the door for them, Johnny's team, to then request for a private eval. So because of that, Johnny's team sent in a motion for their independent eval of Amber, and that was granted. Now, Amber's team attempted to do the same thing with Johnny Depp. They attempted to request a private eval of Johnny Depp's mental health, but their motion was denied on the premises that Johnny himself never put his mental health into question. Only Amber put her mental health into question. And since only Amber put her mental health into question, they were not allowed to independently hire someone to review Johnny because he had never put his mental health into question. But since she had, they were allowed to hire a private doctor, aka Dr. Curry, to evaluate her. Does that make sense? Okay. So that was on her. Yes, because she, referring to my notes here, because she herself put her mental state into question and hired a private doctor, Dr. Hughes, to evaluate her for PTSD. That opened the door for Johnny's team to hire their own private counsel to evaluate her mental health. But since Johnny had never put his mental health into question, when they tried to hire someone to privately evaluate Johnny Depp's mental health, their motion got denied on the grounds that Johnny's mental health had not come into question, whereas Amber put her own mental health in question. So yeah, she shot herself in the foot on that one. So, yeah, she fucked up big time on that one because, you know, I don't know Dr. Hughes because we haven't seen him yet, but I will be shocked if he can outshine Dr. Curry. Like, she was incredible. It's kind of like she objected herself. I'm interested to hear what Hughes says. And that's what I was trying to explain yesterday. So with criminal cases, you can hire an expert to, for example, let's say, let me think how I want to put this. We'll go with the Duggar trial because I know a lot of y'all watched me with the Duggar trial. So I'll use that case because it'll be relatable for a lot of y'all that kept up with me on that. With the Duggar trial, the government had their own computer expert testifying about forensic evidence. So that allowed for Duggar's team to hire their own expert to testify about forensic evidence. And what I was trying to say yesterday was when you hire someone who is considered to be an expert and they're testifying, they're giving expert testimony, you should be able to trust them. You want to be able to trust what they're saying. But just as with anything else, you can't always do that. And you have to remember that they are being paid by a private party, the defense in a criminal case, for example, to evaluate information on behalf of the defense. Now, it's not supposed to be on behalf of anyone but truth and justice, but you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Like, they're not supposed to do anything but testify for truth and justice. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what always happens. And it does cause confusion, and it causes the issue of mistrust in cases because you get these experts up there talking and you never know if they're a legit expert that you can rely on to determine whether or not this case is legit or not. It causes trust issues. And I mean, for anyone on here that, for example, I'm going to age myself here, kept up with the Scott Peterson case, you might remember that they hired an expert witness who was an OBGYN to testify. And that OBGYN was trying to put into question whether or not whether or not Lacey Peterson's baby, what state of development that child was in at the time. And he got so flustered on the stand that he was just like, I don't know. And it's a historical moment for crime buffs because it was like, what the hell? But that's basically what we're getting into here. Now, these mental health experts should only be testifying to the facts, the truth as they know it. But as with everything, you know, they are hired by a private party and sometimes they testify to the benefit of that private party. So those are things you have to keep in mind. Yes, her bringing into question PTSD, PTSD definitely opened the door for Dr. Curry to step in and win the day. Did that make sense, or was that an ADHD ramble that didn't make sense to anyone else but me? It's hard because I'm always trying to explain things. Like there's legalese and then there's social views and discussions, and both of these are running concurrently, but you've got to find a balance in how you explain it. This is a good question. I don't know. On my notes, I just saw from legal docs that they had retained Dr. Hughes to evaluate her for PTSD. Right. Like there's always there. Keep in mind that there's typically always some type of bias, right? I mean, you hate to say that, but if we're keeping it real around here, yeah, there's always some type of bias, even if it's not intended bias. Maybe it's a subconscious bias. It's there. No shame in that. It's just, it is what it is. Next up on the stand is another video deposition. So it's going to be a pre-recorded questioning, and it's another cop. Oh, totally. Even when we don't want to admit it or don't acknowledge it, I mean, there's always some type. But that was my morning tea for y'all. This is gonna be loud. I apologize. But a bitch needs her Dr. Pepper. Yeah, they are. They are. In case today gets boring, got a little surprise for y'all to spice things up. Please hold. In case today gets boring, my dad was Captain Jack Sparrow for Halloween. If we need some entertainment, I've got the wig to keep us entertained. So yeah, if things get boring today, don't y'all worry. We will spice them up. Hat survived Halloween, so it's a little rough around here. I was laughing because my dad was like, it had more beads and stuff at one point. Hilarious. Yeah, this was ridiculous. We needed this laugh. I mean, it's been so slow the past 2 days that I felt that we were going to need a laugh. And since my dad was Captain Jack Sparrow for Halloween, I saw the opportunity and I'm like, yo, Pops, we might need some entertainment. I'm going to need to borrow that hat. So true. So the guy that took the stand right before the break. So Amber or one of her friends called 911 for a domestic dispute. And with that, let me bring up this paperwork from yesterday again. Oh, we have fun. We're a fun family for sure. So let's see. Depp's legal claim. Okay, here we go. We're going to switch screens, so hang tight. As I'm looking ratchet this morning, I rolled out of the bed and was like, let me get on this. Let's see. Okay, bring this up. All right, so the cop that just testified was the second cop on that 911 call. And the reason why I'm showing y'all this is because it says Mr. Depp's marriage to Miss Heard came to an end May 2016 after Mr. Depp indicated to Miss Heard that he wanted to leave the marriage. Miss Heard lured Mr. Depp to his penthouse to pick up his personal items. Unaware that members of Mr. Depp's security team, including an 18-year veteran of Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, were mere feet away, Miss Heard falsely began yelling, "Stop hitting me, Johnny." The interaction culminated with Miss Heard making false allegations that Mr. Depp struck her with a cell phone, hit her, and destroyed the penthouse. There were multiple eyewitnesses to this hoax. Miss Heard's friend then called the police, who arrived promptly. Upon their arrival, Miss Heard refused to cooperate with police or make any claim that she had been injured or assaulted. And 2 domestic abuse trained police officers testified that after close inspection of Miss Heard and the penthouse, they observed no injury to Miss Heard or damage to the penthouse. But then 6 days later, Miss Heard presented herself to the world with a battered face and falsely accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence. Now let me switch back. So that's why they've called these attorneys, or that's why they've called these cops up there, because that claim that I just read y'all is directly from Depp's legal filing. It's so much more fun watching with you guys than it is alone. 1,000%. I do agree with this. It discredits real victims, and that's just beyond fucked up. That does not pass the vibe check. I literally baked poppy seed muffins last night after the Muffin Man joke. Yeah, Yeah, they're pretty interesting. They're pretty interesting. And if y'all are website members and want me to add more documentation for you guys to read, just let me know. I'm uploading documentation that I'm using for this case, but if there's any that y'all want, let me know, because I believe that I also have them from the UK trial, or some of them from the UK trial, if any of y'all are interested in that. But yeah, Johnny's team is claiming that entire call to be a hoax. And like I showed y'all yesterday, the pictures, unfortunately, scanned into the legal filing are trash. What got me about the muffins was, like, according to Dr. Curry, she basically just stated that she was running late. She was trying to get muffins to be nice because that's what they do. Husband got the muffins because she was running late, and it got turned into she was bragging to her husband that she was interviewing a superstar. Come on. What was the UK trial for? After that op-ed came out, the Sun called Johnny Depp a wife beater, and so he sued the Sun for defamation. And since they're based out of the UK, the trial was in the UK, and he actually lost that, which is no surprise, because if anyone keeps up with UK media and the royals and that whole debacle, then you know it's a situation with the media in the UK, for my personal opinion. Why does she wear cardigans instead of blazers? Just curious. I mean, I get that it's got like the blazer pocket, but I guess I shouldn't be judging her trial fashion. That's very petty of me. This is what I was thinking. Like, of all things to be bragging about. Right, though? Right? Wonder what this little sidebar is about. But I did get a muffin this morning. I couldn't resist. And for those, because I know nobody's asking, but you'll want to know, it's a lemon muffin. Lemon. That's what I was vibing this morning. That's true.
All right. Are we ready for the jury then? Yes. Okay. Yes, Your Honor. All right, thank you. Your next witness. Okay, Officer Gatlin. Can you just spell the last name for me in quick order? Gatlin. T-L-I-N. Okay, thank you.
Name and business address for the record.
William Gatlin, business address 251 East 6th Street in Los Angeles, California, 90014.
How long have you been an officer with the LAPD?
8 years.
And what is your rank?
Police officer 2.
Now, your partner on May 21, 2016 was Officer Dean, is that correct?
Yes.
You were wearing your body cam on
Yeah.
May 21, 2016?
Yes.
When were you first assigned body cams?
Sometime in 2015, I think. I don't remember.
So Gatlin, I'm going to show you what has been marked as defendant's exhibit number 6. And I'm going to go ahead and go down to the second page. And this is the incident recall for you and Officer Diener for May 21, 2016.
Like, could they make that
Connection with the
readable?
call at the Eastern Columbia Building, 849 South.
What the hell is that?
Now, Officer Diener indicated that he believed that he was driving that night. Is that your recollection as well?
Yes.
And when Officer Diener is driving, what does that mean you're doing?
It means I handle the computer.
Based on the incident recall, when did you arrive at the scene, you and Officer Diener?
We arrived at scene, it looks like at 22:24.
And that is 10:24?
Correct.
So when you arrived, do you recall whether there were any other police officers that were on the scene?
I do not believe there was.
Do you recall whether there was any press on the scene?
I do not believe there was.
Do you recall whether there was any type of public gathering involved?
No.
Was it relatively quiet?
From my recollection, yes.
Did you see very many people in the lobby when you came through?
Not that I remember.
Okay. And then tell me what you recall of this incident once you got there and you were shown to the elevator.
I remember we went up the elevator, exited the elevator, walked down the hallway until we found the unit number, knocked on the door, a male answered the door. And at that point, I really didn't know whether this guy is potentially the suspect, if this guy is involved in the altercation, or who this guy was. So we kind of talked to him for a second, and he advised us that the police had already been there. He had a business card from them. And we told him that we still needed to step inside to check on the subject or potential victim, just to make sure that she's okay and that this is indeed related to the previous incident and not a new incident where the suspect had potentially returned and caused there's another new issue at hand.
So do you recall that you already knew that that another officer had answered the call, or other officers had answered the call before you got there?
Yes, I already knew there was a previous caller.
And how did you know that?
Just kind of keeping track. When you're on the computer, you kind of are able to keep track of the calls throughout the night and where they're at and what's going on.
And did you know that Officer Sines and Haddon had been the ones who had answered the call earlier?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you speak with Officer Sines or Officer Haddon before you went to the Eastern Columbia building?
No.
I'm going to take you down to the same exhibit. The page that's Bates stamp numbered LAPD 11. And I'm going to ask you, this is a TOMSG data log. Do you recognize this document?
I've never seen this before. I've never seen one of these documents before.
All right. Do you have a recollection of receiving an administrative message at 22:22:30, which would be 10:22:30, saying incident 4756 is the same incident as yours, 1A1 handled earlier. Doubt she called back, probably just delayed response?
I do not recall getting that message.
Right below it, at 22:23:22, which is 10:23 and change, it shows that your unit responded with Rod, in other words, Roger, to that message. Do you see that?
Yes.
Would that have been you that did that, or would that have been Officer Dean?
Probably me.
And is that because you weren't driving and Officer Diener was?
Yes.
Okay. So does this refresh your recollection of what had been communicated to you and why you knew that someone had already answered this call earlier?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the term cycle of violence?
Yes.
Well, typically, do you make arrests on domestic abuse calls?
Sometimes we do, and sometimes the other party is no longer at scene, and we would just take a report.
Okay. Are there times where they just refuse to cooperate and you just left?
Yeah, there are times like that.
You were going to say, but what?
I guess like the totality of the circumstance based on just because someone's uncooperative doesn't automatically mean that we'll just leave. If we're, observe some kind of injuries, or if there's a third party witness that's cooperative, that could lean in, where even if the victim's uncooperative, that we would still take some sort of action.
Now I'm going to ask you to turn to page 13 here. And this is the CAD summary report. What, if any, involvement did you have in this?
I would be the one that kind of closes out the incidents on the computer. So the writings over to the right of the screen would be what I would type into the computer to close out the call.
And so you would have typed in related to previous incident, verbal argument only, checked residence?
Yes.
Who told you that it was a verbal argument only?
Based on the knowledge I had of the previous call, I'm able to see potentially how they closed out the call, and I could have seen it from there.
So you could have gotten this from A1A. 1A1, yeah, their report. Officer signed and officer hadn't, and then just repeated it here.
Yes.
Do you have any recollection of anyone in the apartment up in Penthouse 3 saying that there had been a verbal argument only?
Not to my recollection.
Let me just jump back to the events of May 21 for a moment. Were you aware that that was the apartment of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard?
No.
When did you first become aware of that?
I don't remember.
Was it talking months, days, hours?
It was a couple days.
And do you remember how you remembered it?
No, I don't.
And did you know who Johnny Depp was at that time?
Yeah.
And were you a fan of Johnny Depp's as of May 21, 2016?
I guess I liked a couple of his movies. I don't know. I'm not like rushing out to go see him or anything. I don't know.
Are you a fan of Johnny Depp's today?
I can remember the last movie I saw of his.
Did you know who Amber Heard was as of May 21, 2016?
I was aware that there was an actress by the name of Amber Heard, but I was not totally familiar with her or any of her work.
When you saw the name Amber Heard on the incident recalls, did it register with you that she was an actress?
No,
Did you recognize Amber Heard when you came to the apartment on May 21, 2016?
no.
How close did you come to Amber Heard while you were in the apartment?
I'd have to say probably between 10 and 15 feet.
And what was the lighting like where Amber Heard was sitting?
It's pretty dim.
Did you ask to see Amber Heard's face in the light?
No,
Did you ask Amber Heard whether she had any injuries?
no,
Did you interview any of the persons present about what had taken place earlier that night?
no.
Why not?
Because I was aware that there's a previous call regarding the incident, and the male that answered the door kind of made it clear to us that this is still left over from that same incident, and a new incident had not occurred. So I didn't feel the need to at that time.
Did you go through and search the entire apartment, including bedrooms, offices, and other areas?
No.
Again, why not?
So same as I explained earlier, and they were all adamant that her husband was no longer at scene.
Did you go into any of the other adjoining apartments?
No,
You asked where the husband was. Why did you ask where the husband was?
because in the comments of the call, it stated the husband and wife were arguing.
Okay. And it was also a domestic violence.
It's a domestic violence call, and it wouldn't be uncommon for, the male to answer the door to tell us that he's not the husband, and later it turns out that he is. So, we kind of have to talk to the other party involved to make sure that that's not the male that's involved in the argument.
Did any of the four people that were in the apartment identify Johnny Depp as that male?
No,
Was there any effort by any of the people in that apartment to get you to press charges or investigate further?
no,
Would you say the people were reluctant to even have you come into the apartment?
it felt that way.
And what occurred that made it feel like that to you? That they didn't want you in the apartment?
Just the way that the male was acting to answer the door. And he kind of just said, "Oh, let me just go grab the business card from the previous call." And then even still, when we had went inside, it didn't seem like anybody was particularly eager to talk to us.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at Exhibit 1, Defendant's Exhibit 1. And this is the Daily Mail, Mail Online, July 3rd, 2020. And I'm going to go down to the 10th page. What, if any, evidence did you observe when you went to the Penthouse on May 21, 2016, that Amber Heard and her friends were attempting to concoct an abuse hoax to set up Johnny Depp to be accused of domestic violence?
None that I can recall.
What, if any, evidence did you see of Amber and her friends spilling wine and roughing the place up?
None.
And what, if any, evidence did you see that Amber and her friends had concocted and gotten their story straight and were relaying them to you when you arrived?
None.
Did Amber or her friends at any time while you were at the apartment on May 1, 2016, claim that Johnny Depp had committed domestic violence of Amber?
Not to me, they didn't.
Did you see them do that to Officer Diener?
No.
What, if any, efforts did Amber Heard make to come over and to show you any evidence of injuries?
None.
And what, if any, effort did Amber Heard or her friends make to try to show you any type of property damage?
None.
And what, if any, evidence do you have that Amber or her friends placed a second call to 911?
I don't have any evidence that it was one of her friends. I just know that there was a second call placed. Well, actually, if I can recall, I think it said that her friend was on the phone with her and heard her arguing with her husband.
Who said that?
I believe that's what the incident recall said.
Did you ever provide a sworn deposition saying that you saw no evidence of a crime at the Penthouse before today?
No.
Are you aware of whether Officer Dean provided a sworn deposition saying he saw no evidence of a crime?
He has not.
Now this call came in at 20. Sworn deposition saying he saw no evidence.
He has not.
Regular time, PM, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then a little bit further down, just 7 minutes later, comes a duplicate call that appears to come from the New York Police Department. So
Yes.
roughly 7 minutes of each other, correct?
Yes.
Did you see that when you were looking back and trying to look at the history?
I believe I saw all of this.
Did you see in any of the incident recalls or any of the documentation that you reviewed that the Officer Science and Haddon reported to the scene, left the scene, closed out, and then another call was made to come to 849 South Broadway?
Yes.
What did you see?
The second call created was the one that we had received.
And it says, this is 2209, which would be 1009, right, roughly?
Yes.
It says teletype from NYPD ICAP. Female stated she was on the phone with her friend. She began screaming at her husband. Subject Amber Heard, husband Johnny Heard, male, 53 years old, 5'11", NFB, MFR. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. But that's New York Police Department. And back here, it says New York Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But after you communicated down here, on the administrative text messages, and I'm now on LAPD 11, this is 2222, you now know it's the same incident as yours, and when they handled earlier, doubt she called back, probably just delayed response, correct?
Yeah, this is just a message from another unit. So, I mean, just because they're basically just sending me a message that it's related, you know, it doesn't mean that it's exactly the same call.
By the time you showed up at the door, Penthouse 3, at the Eastern Columbia building, you already knew that Officer Science had handled this call, and you were just double checking to make sure that the perpetrator wasn't there and that everybody was okay, correct?
I was aware that Officer Science had handled a call at that location earlier, but it doesn't mean that I treat it as if it's handled already. We still have to get there and speak to them and make that determination that it's not a completely new incident.
Okay, and you did that, right?
Yes.
And you put in the system for this call. Twenty 2046 to 2122, met with Vic, checked location, verified husband left location, victim advised, verbal dispute, and refused to give any further information. Actually, that was Haddon Science, right?
That wasn't me. I didn't put that in.
And then what you put in, that was what I couldn't find. You put in 2217, and I'm sure you weren't there till 301, but we'll talk about some dates about that. You put in related to previous incident, verbal argument only, checked residence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And your putting verbal argument only was based on what you had reviewed with Science and Haddon, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what it marked as defendant's exhibit number 2 And it's a picture, it's a portion of a video clip from the ECB building. And it has 5/21/2016, and the time is 22/28/14. Do you recognize the person in this picture?
Yes.
And who is in this picture?
Officer Diener.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at defendant's exhibit number 3, and that's reflecting a video clip again, and it's dated 5/21/2016 and says 22/28/15. Do you recognize the person in this?
Yeah, that's me and Officer Diener.
I'm going to show you now the video cam footage. I've got the two from yours and from Officer Diener, so I'm going to go through and show those to you.
Coffee's hot. Burn it up. Word around Penthouse 3. Hey, bud, we're stepping on off the Penthouse 4. Hello. Officers. How you doing? Doing all right. You guys had somebody come out here earlier?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
I can't remember their names offhand with the card inside.
Yeah, we got another call. I don't know if it's related to the same call from earlier or if somebody called again.
Probably.
We just did the check.
One of you guys know someone in New York or something? Yeah, she probably called twice.
Okay. Is, you just talk to your wife and make sure.
Oh, it's not mine.
Or, oh, okay.
Different conversation.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, whoever it is, you know, stuff out, we just gotta check on and make sure it's, they're all good.
I'll go get the business card from the cops. She's.
Yeah, I don't know, just because we got another call and we came again, we still gotta make sure.
Nothing. Back up, please, back up.
We just come in and just check, we just need to make sure everybody in here is okay and then we. I don't know if she called twice or whoever called, but we just got another notification. So we just need to come in and make sure that everybody's okay. They're all good. Nobody else is in here?
No. The other officers came by and checked the party and the after party.
Yeah.
We must have been like the
Okay. Who's Amber? Okay. Johnny
Is definitely not here.
is not here? Okay.
probably like 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Everything's all good then?
Now it's getting.
All right.
Thank you.
But if you guys need anything else, just call us back.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Thank you. Yep, thank you. Have a good night.
So this one is defendant's exhibit number 4.
Coffee's hot. Burn it up. Word around Penthouse 3.
show you now that you're putting voting and says 22-28-15. Do you recognize the person in this?
Yeah, that's me and Officer Diener.
I'm going to show you now the video cam footage. I've got the two from Lords and from Officer Diener. So I'm going to go through and show those to you.
Okay.
So this one is defendant's exhibit number 4.
Copy that. Burn it up. Word around Penthouse 3. We're stepping on to the Penthouse.
Before we go further, can you tell whether this one is your video cam footage or it is Officer Diener's?
This appears to be Officer Diener's.
And so that's you over here?
Yes.
Can you tell whether it's you or Officer Diener that's saying Officer Sines?
I cannot tell.
Okay. How did you know that it was Officer Sines who'd been there?
Because I was aware which unit had responded to the call there, and I knew that she was working that unit.
I don't know if it's related to the same call from earlier, or if somebody called again. Probably. We just need to check. Does one of you guys know someone in New York or something? Yeah, she probably called twice. Okay. Yeah. You just talk to your wife and make sure it's not mine. Or, okay. Whoever. Different conversation. Okay, yeah. Well, whoever it is, we just gotta check on and make sure they're all good. I'll go get the business card from the cops. Yeah, I don't know, just because we got another call and we came again, we still gotta make sure.
Now, would you say, and I'll represent this as Josh Drew, and he's already provided testimony. Would you say that Josh Drew was discouraging you from even coming into the apartment or seeing Amber Heard?
Yes.
I don't know if she called twice or whoever called, but we just got another notification. So we just made that come in, make sure that everybody's okay. They're all good. Nobody else is in here?
No. The other officer came by.
All right. Officer Gatlin, can you tell which one of these people is doing the talking, of these 3 girls, women?
I can't tell for certain, but it appears to me it's the girl in the middle. That's the one that's leaning forward with the white shirt.
Do you know which one of these is Amber Heard?
From this view, I can't tell.
All right. Do you know what color hair the person that's the most forward that's in the middle has?
I can't tell from this.
Okay. Can you tell what color hair the woman, the furthest right is, that's in front?
I can't tell. It looks like her head is in the shadow.
Okay. Can you tell what color hair the person that's middle but in the back?
No, same. Everything looks like the tops of their heads are in shadows.
All right. And you believe that the one to the left is Amber Heard?
No, I believe that that's the one that's doing most of the talking.
I checked the apartment and the other apartment as well.
Yeah.
It must have been like a double call.
Okay. Who's Amber? Okay, Johnny is.
Did you see anybody acknowledge that they identified themselves as Amber?
It looks like it was the girl sitting furthest away from me, or furthest away from the camera.
Okay. And how would you describe the lighting in there?
Pretty dim and dark.
You said earlier you thought we were 10 to 15 feet away. How much would you estimate now that you are looking at this on body cam? How far away are you from the 3 women?
I would still say it's in that range.
Did you get a clear look at any of these 3 women?
I can't remember.
And Did you ask to have any of them come out into the lighting so that you could take a better look at them to see if potentially they might have injuries?
No.
What perception did you have about the level of cooperation of these 4 individuals with your answering this call?
Pretty low level of cooperation.
Now can we bring up exhibit number 5? It's the other video. I just want to run through both of them because there's a little bit of a different angle in the two.
Coffee's hot. Burn it up. We're around Penthouse.
Sorry, I'm choking on the bullshit over here.
You guys let somebody come out here earlier? Okay. Yeah, we got another call. I don't know if it is the same call from earlier or if somebody called again. We just need to check. Don't you guys know someone in New York or something? Yeah, she's calling also. Okay. Just talk to her whatever, make sure it's all on or call them. Different conversation. Whoever it is, I'll go get the business card from the house. Yeah, this is got another call that came in. We're just coming in this side. We need to make sure everything. Who's Amber? You or this is Johnny? It's definitely not here. He's not here? Okay. Okay. All right, cool. Everything go good then? All right. If we get anything else, just call back. Have a good night.
Now showing you defendant's exhibit number 5. And let me just stop you for a minute. Does this appear to be the video cam from your video cam?
Yes.
He's hot. Burn it up. Burn red, hang out, green. Yeah, we got another call. I don't know if it is the same call from earlier or if somebody called again. Probably. We just need to check. Do you guys know someone in New York or something? Yeah, she probably called twice. Okay. Yeah. Is, you need to talk to your wife to make sure it's not my or call and different conversations about that. Well, whoever it is, I'll go get the business card from the cops. Yeah, I don't know. This is, we got another call and it came again, so I'm make sure. Well, just come in and just check. We need to make sure everything is. I don't know.
Yes, these are pre-recorded depositions. And so this was recorded November 23rd, 2021 to use for court. But
So I'm just stopping here again on these three women. You had indicated before the woman that's leaning forward here that she's in the middle. Is that correct?
It appears that way.
And you think she's the one who did most of the talking, correct?
Yeah, right now she was the one talking.
Okay. And do you believe that Amber is the one in the back behind her?
Yes.
Are you able to see the right side of Amber's face?
From this camera view, it looks like she's kind of facing straight towards me. So I would have been able to see the right side of her face from there.
Would you have been able to see it clearly?
Due to the low lighting, probably not very clearly.
Okay.
Johnny is definitely not here. He's not here? Okay.
While we're still there, can you tell how much hair Amber has covering the right side of her face in the pictures?
oh my God, this girl and her aesthetic.
Looks like from this camera view, most of the time, like half of her head is blocked from the woman in front of her.
Can you tell whether she's wearing any makeup?
No.
God bless her. Here we go. Yeah.
All right. If we get anything else, just call us back.
Do you recall looking for any injuries in the faces of the three women?
No.
Now, Officer Gatlin, do you recall seeing two dogs in the house?
Yes.
They were running around pretty freely.
Yes.
And when you say that, would you be able to, sitting here today, say that the person in these three photos, and it's 7, 8, and 9, is the same person that was sitting on that sofa in the back? Are you able to draw that connection?
No, I don't recall.
Do you disagree with my description of what's in this picture?
No, I was stating that I didn't observe that when I was inside the apartment.
Are you able to testify whether Amber Heard was the victim of domestic violence by Mr. Depp on May 21, 2016?
Based on our investigation, it appeared as if she was not.
Your investigation of what?
Based on her refusing to give any statement on what had occurred. And at the time, we did not observe any any visible or verifiable injuries to her.
Anything else?
Not that I can recall.
Right. So did you interview any of the 3 other individuals in the apartment?
No.
Did you ask any of the individuals to give you a statement about what transpired?
I believe the female that was sitting in the middle of the 3 told us that everything was fine and that the other officers had already conducted an investigation on the incident prior to our arrival.
Did you ask that individual to give you a statement?
Outside of that, no.
Did you take that individual aside and try to interview her without the others present?
No.
Why not?
As I just stated, everybody there had told us that the officers who had responded a couple hours before us had conducted the investigation, and this is our call is still stemming from that incident, and there have been no change in the circumstance since then.
Do you know whether Officer Sines and Officer Haddon took any of the individuals aside and interviewed them?
No.
Did you at any point ask Amber Heard to come forward and examine her in the light to see if she had any injuries?
No.
Did you take a flashlight just to see if she had any visible injuries to her face or her body?
No.
Did you ask Amber Heard if she had any injuries?
No.
I'm asking whether you're in a position as a police officer to testify under oath that Johnny Depp did not commit any abuse of Amber Heard on May 21, 2016.
I don't believe I'm in the position to testify whether he did or did not, because I was not there when the incident potentially occurred.
Okay. And you didn't conduct your own independent investigation, correct?
Outside of the female telling us that everything was fine, and the male that answered the door told us that the other officers had already came and talked to everybody, and she told us they checked both the 2 apartments. So I felt at that time sufficient that, as I stated, there's no change in the circumstance from the previous call. So we did not go further into investigation.
And that's the extent of your investigation, correct?
Correct.
Did you do that night on May 21, 2016? Did you do anything other than what we have looked at on the video camera in connection with investigating whether Johnny Depp committed domestic violence with Amber Heard on May 21, 2016?
No.
Do you know whether Johnny Depp committed domestic violence of Amber Heard on May 21, 2016?
No.
Sorry, your next witness, Alejandro Romero. And And if I might, Your Honor, this is another one that begins with questioning by counsel for Ms. Heard and later on switches to questioning by counsel for Mr. Depp. Okay, thank you.
Romero, will you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Alejandro Romero. I go by Alex.
What is your current occupation?
I work on the front desk of the Eastern Columbia building.
And is that for the Action Property Management Company?
That's correct.
How long have you been employed at the Eastern Columbia building?
Approximately 13 years.
And could you please describe what kind of work you do for the Eastern Columbia building?
Most of it is just access control, and I deal with a lot of residents regarding their packages and food delivery.
Okay. And have you done that pretty much the whole 10 years?
That's correct.
I'm going to take you back to 2015 and 2016 for a moment. How many people would you say would go through the building on any particular day in that time? I'm talking tenants and visitors.
I cannot say a number because there's 147 units in the building, and there are visitors, guests, friends. Actually, we used to send delivery people out. We don't send it anymore because of the COVID. But I cannot tell you a number. There's thousands of people probably.
Have you ever met Johnny Depp?
I saw him a couple of times.
Do you remember what Mr. Depp was wearing on any of those occasions?
Nope.
Do you remember what jewelry he had on?
Nope.
Do you remember what headgear he was wearing? He was wearing a scarf or a hat?
No.
Do you remember whether Mr. Depp was wearing any makeup or eyeliner?
No, I don't remember. Nope.
You couldn't tell me one way or the other, right?
Her and these fucking makeup questions, y'all. Like,
do you know whether Mr. Depp had ever been physically violent with Amber Heard? And by this, I mean hitting, punching, throwing objects at her, kicking her, headbutting her. Do you know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp ever did that to Ms. Heard?
Nope.
Have you ever seen Mr. Depp slam things around or be angry?
No, I have never seen him like that.
I'm going to ask you some questions now about Amber Heard. When did you first meet Amber Heard?
I believe she was dancing on the lobby. I met her at the front desk. I got interact more with her sister, Whitney, I believe that's her name, and her good friend, Rocky. And after I only see her like once in a while when she was sometimes used to get packages.
Do you recall whether Ms. Heard became a resident sometime around March 2016?
Don't remember.
Could you tell me one way or the other?
I just did.
I just can't remember. And like I said, it's been so long.
Fuck,
I
lady.
don't remember. And like, I know you guys sent me the papers to review, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want to review them because it's been so long. It's like I just don't want to deal with this anymore. Yes, I went through the witness statement, and it's everything that is written there. That's what I said. That was correct. That was accurate.
Okay.
That's what I cited.
So during the time between 2015 and 2016, how many times would you say total that you interacted with Amber Heard?
For a whole year, I don't got to give you a number. Because it could be like probably probably saw her for 3 times in one day, probably I'll see like 5 times, or probably I will never see him for a whole week. So I don't have there's never been a routine.
Okay. How would you describe Amber Heard's interactions with you? Were they friendly? Would she smile at you? Would she talk with you?
She was really friendly. She would always smile. but we never had like a
I gotta show y'all something.
like
Hold on.
a interaction as really close relationship, like I do with some of the other residents. She never told me anything of her problems. She never
Hold on, I gotta
stopped
show y'all
by and
this.
talked about her personal life. She never did that.
They're asking you about a date that you recall seeing Amber Heard
Read this.
on May 25th, 2016. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And you said, probably, I just can't remember the days. I've got a really bad memory for dates. Did you see that?
Yep.
So, Mr. Romero, would you at any time be able to remember what type of clothing Amber Heard was
So
wearing?
look at how Johnny
from
is looking at him fondly.
event?
And then look at
Nope,
this fucking
I don't
tweet.
remember.
Would you remember on any daily basis what type of hairstyle she was wearing?
Nope.
Would you remember on any type of basis what type of bag she was Amber Heard was carrying?
No.
Would you be able to say whether Amber Heard was dressed up or casual on any given day?
No.
Would you be able to say whether what type of makeup Amber Heard was wearing on any given day?
No.
Would you be able to say, for example, whether Amber Heard had on concealer or foundation on any given day?
No.
Would you be able to say whether Amber Heard had on blush or powder on any given day?
No.
Would you be able to say whether Amber Heard had a mascara or eyeliner on any given day?
No.
How about eyebrow pencil or lip pencil?
No.
Her and these
You-
makeup questions, y'all.
any
Seriously. These are men.
memories Amber Heard
God bless.
wearing a particular type of makeup with a type of outfit.
Is that the only thing she knows how to question on?
If you were asked to describe any characteristics of Amber Heard from 2 days earlier without knowing you were going to be asked, would you be able to testify to any of those? What she was wearing, what her makeup was, what her hairstyle was?
No, I probably won't remember.
No, I was doing my job, minding my own fucking
When is the
business.
first time that you recall anyone saying anything to you about the police being called at the EC building because of a domestic dispute between Mr. Depp and Amber Heard?
Well, to answer your question, whatever happened, it happened on a Saturday. I don't work Saturday. When I got there on Monday, they asked me, "Oh, you heard what happened?" And I said, "No, what happened?" So that's how I found out. Then I went to the cameras to see what was going on. And as soon as I saw Johnny Depp on the camera on the elevator, just walking back and forward on the camera in the elevator, I said, "Okay, I know that was him," and that's all I knew. But I was not there on that Saturday when that happened. I believe that whatever that happened, they say it happened, and when they called the police, I believe it wasn't a Saturday, and I was not there.
Okay. Do you recall who told you that on that Monday following the Saturday?
Okay, Don, as a matter of fact, I think it was one of the residents that they approached to me, and they said there was a lot of noise because the person was working out on the gym that's next to the penthouse. They heard a bunch of noise, and that's it. And that's why I checked the camera. And when I looked at the camera and I saw Johnny, like I said, was just walking back and forward in the elevator. And I said, like, okay, all right, okay, no, I'll try to figure it out. And I didn't say anything more. I turned off the camera, and that's it.
So the first part of that, somebody was working out and heard noise?
Someone was working out on the gym and heard the noise, a lot of noise from the hallway. Because it's really rare to hear anything because most of the time, the penthouse level is really quiet.
Okay, do you remember who the person was in the gym that heard a lot of noise in the penthouse that night?
That's correct. I do remember the person.
Who is it?
I remember the person. It's been a resident in the building for a long time. I just don't remember. I don't remember her name.
And where is the gym in comparison to the penthouse that's owned by Mr. Depp?
Like I said, Johnny Depp owns all the penthouse on below the clock. The gym of the Eastern Columbia building is just in front of one of the penthouses. You actually can see it through the window.
You can see the gym through a window of the penthouse, or you can see the penthouse through a window of the gym?
You can see the gym through one of the windows to the penthouse, and they have the patio that leads to the gym. Penthouse has the patio to lead to the gym.
Okay. And this Kim, if you think of her name while you're, even if we're asking another question, please let me know. This Kim, this is a resident there, right, that saw this?
Yeah, I believe her name is Shauna.
And so she told you she heard a lot of noise.
That's correct.
Did she describe anything, voices, any objects, anything like that?
No, she just said it was a noise, not just noise. And she was just surprised because, like I said, it's always really quiet.
Okay. And so she wanted to know what happened. And so you went to the video cameras to look at video. How did you know when to look for that?
Because she got the time. She got the time that she was working out. That's what I figured out to track the time on the camera and looked. And then when I saw, as soon as I saw it, like I said, Johnny Depp walking back and forth the elevator, I turned off the camera and I figured out, okay, this is what happened. I figured out, putting one and two together, I thought, okay.
When you said you figured out what happened after you saw Johnny Depp in the elevator, what did you figure out had happened?
I figured out that's why they call the cops, the police.
Because why?
Because of the noise that was on the penthouse level.
Mr. Romero, I'm going to ask you to look at, this is a video clip marked as Romero Exhibit Number 8. It shows the date and time stamp near the bottom. Do you recognize this as the elevator at ECB building?
That's correct.
Mr. Romero, you're nodding. Is this the video that you remember looking at after Shauna told you that she heard the noise that night?
That's correct.
That's Mr. Depp.
Correct.
Do you recognize the other two men in the elevator?
I recognize the guy from the elevator button that's his personal bodyguard. The other guy, I've seen him before, but I never interact with him. If I did, I don't remember.
You said he looked agitated.
Yeah, he looked agitated, like he was walking back and forward. He took his jacket. His body language was different than before. Most of the time, he's really calm. He's just like really happy person. Yeah, like, this is the first time I saw him like that.
And then you go to the next, so then you say Wednesday, May 25th. At approximately 10:30, Ms. Heard walked into the lobby accompanied by Ms. Raquel Pennington. That's the person you called Rocky earlier. Do you remember her?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you said that Ms. Heard approached you to ask you for the key to her unit, which you did. And you said we did not discuss anything else at that time.
Correct.
Ms. Heard stood approximately 3 feet away from you. I did not notice any bruises, cuts, swelling, red marks, or any other injuries of any kind on Ms. Heard's face. Do you see that?
Correct.
But you weren't looking for bruises, cuts, swelling, red marks, or any other injuries on Ms. Heard's face that night, were you?
I was not looking for any marks or bruises or anything. But something like that, it will be really noticeable. But I guess, I wasn't not looking. I was more focusing on what my job duties was, like getting the key. And also, I gave them the key, and they were talking about, I told her, you know what, your dog, I was talking with Raquel because her dog got out of her unit. And that was one of my concerns. I was told, you know what, I saw your dog was outside. You didn't want me to get too close to it. So it's still out there. On the penthouse area, that dog will be fine because it's not, like I said, it's always really quiet. And Mr. Depp owns everything up there, so it'll be fine. So that was one of my concerns. That was my job. I was just taking care of that. I was not trying to say, oh, let me see your face. No.
I love this guy.
So, and that's where I'm going to follow up. Do you remember what Ms. Heard was wearing that night?
No.
Do you remember whether she was dressed up?
No.
Do you remember where she was coming from, that she would come home at 10:30 at night with Ms. Penny?
No, I don't remember. They didn't mention to me. She was on the phone. She was with Raquel in front of me. We were talking about it, and then she left to the lobby where she was still on the phone.
So
I was focusing more on Raquel because I was telling about her dog.
Okay. Do you remember what hairstyle Ms. Heard had that night?
No.
Oh my God, with
Do you
these
know what type
questions.
of makeup Amber Heard was wearing that night?
No.
Can you tell me whether she was wearing concealer or foundation?
Oh my God, bitch. Here we fucking
Can you
go.
tell me whether she was wearing blush?
No.
Could you tell me whether she was wearing any kind of eye makeup?
No.
Y'all, I can't.
Who wrote the sentence, I did not notice any bruises, cuts, swelling, red marks, or any other injuries of any kind in Ms. Heard's face?
I'm pretty sure if I would have said something like that, I would have said something.
Mr. Romero,
I didn't saw any marks or bruises on her face. I don't recall. Just don't saw anything. She was just standing in front of me.
I'm asking specifically, I did not notice any bruises, cuts, swelling, red marks, or any other injuries of any kind to Ms. Heard's face. Who wrote that?
This is so true.
I didn't saw any marks or bruises on her face. That's what I said.
But
So they asked me if I remember seeing anything, and so I just don't recall seeing any marks or bruises because she was just sitting in front of me. I just don't remember seeing anything. Just don't remember. How it would have been so obvious, like someone had like a black eye, I would have like, whoa, I would have seen that, and I would have remembered that. It's something that you will see. Like so noticeable, like you will remember. But when I was there talking to her, she was like 3 feet away from me. She was right in front of me. I just don't remember seeing any marks, bruises, or anything.
But you don't know whether she was wearing makeup to cover it, do you?
Oh, I don't know. No. She was wearing any makeup to cover it, probably. You know, the probably would cover any bruise, but you cannot cover the swelling.
Were you looking for swelling?
Oh my God, lady.
I was not looking for anything.
In fact, you were spending more time talking to Rocky about her dog, were you not?
That's correct, but I gotta have it. When I'm talking to someone, I look into their eyes. And when I was talking to Amber and Rocky, I always look into their eyes.
Okay.
And I wouldn't notice like any swelling or bruise. Like I said, I would notice.
It's fair to say, Mr. Romero, that you can't say that Amber Heard had injuries or did not have injuries that day on the 25th?
I don't remember.
Okay.
And I would probably remember the swelling, but I didn't saw anything. Just don't remember.
And you don't remember seeing anything, right? But do you remember?
Oh my God.
I remember. I'm really sorry, but I remember. I gotta tell the whole story how they got there. Before they went and get the key, they come down. They say somebody tried to get into my unit. They scratches on my door. And I'm really sorry, but who will think it's gonna get into your unit because it saw some scratches on the door, like 4 inches above the door? Because the dog was scratching the door, was trying to get in, and they thought about someone trying to break into the unit. I said, on my head, I was like, you think someone's trying to get into your unit? There's scratches like 4 inches above the floor on your door. That was the dog.
Oh my God, amazing.
They were
Fucking
so
hilarious.
Afraid. Oh, somebody's trying to get into my ear. It's like, oh, come on, really? And I actually went.
Oh
they
my
asked
God.
me to go inside the unit just to check room by room to make sure no one was there. So I did that. It's part of my job. Make sure they're safe. But I didn't understand why they want me to do that. Like, I don't know.
Oh my God.
I just so stressed out because of this. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm tired. I don't want to deal with this court case. Everybody got problems, and I don't want to deal with it no more.
We feel you, honey. We feel you.
I need more work.
The interaction you just testified about is Amber Heard and Rocky Pennington, and talking about the dog and going out and checking out the penthouse. None of that was on video footage, correct?
That's correct. We don't have cameras in the video. Sorry, we don't have cameras at the hallway. We don't have cameras in the hallway.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Romero Exhibit Number 1. It's a deposition that was taken of you on July 19, 2016. Now that's approximately 2 months after the May 21, 2016 incident. Do you recall giving that deposition?
16 probably did. I just don't remember.
Okay. I'm going to take you to page 35. When you were asked, this is the same incident that you're talking about now, okay? And it's talking about, okay, you spoke with Amber at the front desk, later saw her in the lobby, later went upstairs with her. It says the question at line 6. I just want to go back for a second here. You said several times in answer to my questions that you didn't recall seeing any marks on Amber's face. When you say you didn't recall seeing any of those marks, did you mean that you didn't see any marks on her face? And your answer then was, I say that because when I saw Amber, I was not looking to see anything on her face. I was not looking to see anything.
He's minding his business, doing his job.
Under oath back at that time, 2 months after the incident.
Yes, I remember, because like I said, I always make eye contact with someone I'm talking to, but I'm not looking to find something like, oh, your makeup's wrong, you haven't have changed your eyebrows, or your eyelashes are not even, or I'm not looking for anything. I'm just looking at their eyes.
Fucking hilarious.
I'm not looking for anything else. But if I see something, I will probably will remember.
If you saw something, right?
Yeah, I would have probably would see, like if she had a swollen, like if she was wearing makeup, probably would have been seeing the swollen, I probably would remember that. But I was not looking for anything. It was like, oh, you know.
How swollen was Amber on the 25th of May? How swollen was her cheek?
Well, according to the pictures that I've been seeing right now that you're showing me, it was pretty swollen. I will probably will remember that.
How many days later did you see her from that swelling?
That was on a Wednesday. That was from Saturday to Wednesday.
Right. How many days, would it be fair to say that you cannot testify one way or the other whether Amber Heard was domestically abused by Johnny Depp on May 21, 2016?
I cannot say that. I would not agree to testify against anyone of domestic violence because I was not there. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I was not there. I was never there. I was probably hundreds of miles away and got no idea what happened that day.
And do you remember that there was pictures of wine, a glass of wine and bottle of wine stains on the floor outside of the, in the hallway of the Penthouse from May 21st, 2016?
I remember telling to Mark, I'm not going to say it was wine.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm not an expert.
You didn't see any swelling either, did you, Mr. Romero?
That's correct. No swelling
And
at
she was
all.
only 3 or 4 feet away from you, correct?
Correct.
And you were looking right into her face squarely, correct?
Correct.
And the lighting was good at the front desk, correct?
Objection.
Correct.
It was so good that had she had any bruises, swelling, or marks on her face, you would have noticed that, correct?
That's correct.
And then later that same day, and you testified to this already today, later that same day, you went up the elevator with Ms. Heard and Ms. Pennington in connection with their request for you to check the penthouse, correct?
That's correct.
And during that entire period of time, taking them up to the penthouse, walking through the penthouse, and then finally you leaving and going back to your desk, you looked at Ms. Heard during that time period, correct?
That's correct.
Yep,
And you looked
somebody's
her in the face,
objecting.
squarely in the face, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't notice any swelling, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry?
Correct. I didn't saw anything.
Did you see any swelling?
Objection.
No.
Did you see any bruises?
Nope.
Bitch, you ask these same
See
fucking
any
questions.
marks
Is she
on her face
serious
anytime?
right now?
No marks at all.
And again, just to repeat, when you were I'm just looking at the face. Did you see any swelling on her face?
No,
See any bruises on her?
no,
Did you see any marks of any kind on her face?
no marks at all.
And how was the light down when you were at the reception and you were looking at her and didn't see any of this? How was the lighting?
The lighting is actually pretty good. It's not
How far
dark
apart?
at all. She was
How
3
far
feet
away?
apart. Approximately like 3 to 4 feet apart.
Were you looking her square in the face?
Correct.
Okay.
Like, you already asked these exact questions tenfold to this guy. Why are you objecting?
And when you were up in the penthouse and you were looking her square in the face, how far apart were you from her then?
We actually were pretty close to each other. She was probably just next to me. She was telling me like, go into this room, so I need to pass right in front of her.
And do you recall seeing any bruises, swelling, redness, or any marks on Miss Heard's face on May 24th, 2016?
I don't see anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, the remainder of this deposition of this witness contains questions by counsel for Ms. Heard.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the video clips that Mr. Depp's attorney showed you. I'm going to ask you, first of all, Mr. Presidio showed you a number of video clips from May 24th. Do you recall that?
May 24th.
While you were working, did you see Amber at any time? I don't recall seeing her. Question, did you work on Tuesday, May 24th? Yes, I did. And on Tuesday, May 24th, at any time, did you see Amber? I don't recall seeing her. Do you remember that being your testimony 2 months after the events?
Yeah. I just don't recall. I just don't remember.
Okay. And then while we're here, now, Mr. Presidio had you go through a number of video clips and ask you a bunch of questions about whether you saw swelling, whether you saw red marks, whether you saw all kinds of other things. But in fact, I'm going to ask you, and tell me if you need me to bring up the videos and replay them. Can you tell me what type of makeup Amber Heard was wearing in any of those videos?
No, I can't tell you.
Can
I
you
didn't
tell
even
me?
know she was wearing any lipstick.
Can you
I
tell
don't
me?
know.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing concealer in any of those videos?
No.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing any foundation in any of those videos?
No, I
Can
can't
you
tell you.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing any blush in any of those videos?
No.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing any powder in any of those videos?
No, but she looks really pale.
Well, do you know what shade of concealer or foundation or powder Ms. Heard uses or used at that time?
No.
Okay. So you don't know whether Ms. Heard was wearing makeup in every one of those video clips, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to try to move along. So the incident was May 21st, 2016. You saw her the night of May 25th, correct?
Correct.
You said
you saw Amber Heard hundreds of times while she was there. Amber Heard treat you well, and was she friendly to you in each of these hundreds of times?
Yes. I'm not gonna say no because she was really always nice.
All right, this is my last.
Be nice.
All right, this is my last question. You testified
Thank
in
God.
response to Mr. Presidio's questions, that you testified truthfully in all of these occasions. Did you testify truthfully to everything that you testified in response to my questions today?
That's correct.
All right.
I did.
All right, it's a good time to break for lunch. We'll just break a little early, so just don't talk to anybody, don't do any outside research, and we'll see you at 2:00, okay? Thank you.
Oh. Oh my God.
All right. That was a first, I'm sorry.
I will say, Your Honor, that is the most bizarre deposition.
Okay, all right, I've just never seen that before. I've seen a lot of things, but I've just never seen
You
that.
started driving that.
Yeah, that did it. All right, so we will come back at 2.
Oh
Is there
my
anything preliminary
God.
before we get to the next deposition? You'll work through them, and then if I come back at 2, we should be able to take care of it pretty quickly?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great, we'll come back at 2 then, thank you.
Oh my God. Y'all, like, what? What? He was like, I'm fucking done. I'm out. Y'all got to FaceTime. I'm done. Like, I can't. I can't with that. Her and these makeup questions kill me. Like, kill me. I understand what she's like trying to say, what she's trying to get at, but she's asking all the wrong people and all the wrong questions and not getting any point. I mean, my God. I don't know what shade makeup or even what all brands makeup I have. This guy is just doing his job, minding his own business. And she's like, what kind of concealer did she have on? Do you know what makeup she had on? What was she wearing? Like, what? What? I can't. Anything that we need to recap before we take a lunch break? Anything we need to recap before we take our lunch break? I honestly, I can't. But so, okay, here to clear up just some confusion. This is Team Depp showing this as their evidence, their witness. But the reason why you're hearing Amber's attorneys are because Johnny Depp's team is saying, let me present you with this evidence, this deposition. But we're going to show the clips of Amber's attorneys asking these questions to just really hit a homer here and proving that there's nothing to see. There's nothing to see here. Like, this is her own attorneys asking these questions to these cops, and they're telling her there's nothing to see. So they're using her own deposition in their favor, which is actually really smart, really strategic. I cannot. Clearly, I'm not wearing any though. That's all I know. God bless. I don't think the way he acted in that video will affect anything. I think he was just being honest. He's like, listen, I have nothing to do with this. I have nothing to offer. And yet here I am giving this deposition. I've asked these questions 50 times. Like, he's just flustered. He's a normal dude. I get it. You can tell, I mean, typically you can tell whose witness it is based on how they're asking the questions and how much they're allowing them to answer or elaborate when they're answering. And you can definitely tell. I mean, I hope to God she's nicer to their witnesses. Like, that's all I can say. This man is second guessing his career choice. Just a normal person. I can totally relate. Any other questions before we break for lunch? Yes, we're going to need to let that marinate. This is hilarious, Hannah. Hysterical. Yeah. Like, you would think he'd be, hopefully he was just moving his car around the parking lot. Like, let me just move over here. Unbelievable, y'all. Like, unbelievable. Okay. Let's break for lunch. What time did they say they were coming back? I missed that. I was distracted by the fact that he was driving. My ADHD got the best of me. Two o'clock. Okay. So everyone go eat. That's 1 o'clock my time. So everyone go eat. Go get a mega pint of coffee or Dr. Pepper or water, whatever, and we will reconvene at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock my time. We'll reconvene in an hour.